So I'm Adi. I'm the founder and CEO of Espresso Labs. I've been in cybersecurity for the past 20-something years. I've started and sold 4 previous companies to the likes of Checkpoint, BlackBerry, VMware, and founded Espresso Labs a couple of years ago to address the compliance market. Just to keep things interesting, I'm also a semi-professional musician, although for obvious reason, I don't get to practice much nowadays. Uh, and I want to thank our partners who joined the webinar, PreVeil and IVIS. Between us, I think we share a common goal, which is making CMMC faster, simpler, and way more cost-effective to accomplish. And make it basically accessible to every member of the defense industrial base, regardless of size and skill set. And I think we all share that. And what we're going to show you as we go is how each of us and all of us combined can take a lot of the different individual controls and take them on and help you implement them in a much simpler way. So a few words about the CMMC market that you may or may not know. As you probably know, it's becoming pretty much a prerequisite to doing business with DoD right now. But having said that, last statistics that I've seen from Cyber AB is that only about 1,400 contractors are certified out of probably hundreds of thousands. The number varies between like 80,000 to over 300,000. Some saying it's even more. So there's a lot of need and very few that have accomplished the task. And as the November deadline approaches, we are having a lot of conversations with the primes, with subcontractors, with Cyber AB, and we feel November is real, and it's real in the sense that if you have a contract renewing after November, you may very well have to be certified to still keep the business or win new business with DoD. And that will create winners. Those, obviously some will tap out or won't make the deadline, which could be a fairly large problem. And the winners who will be certified could actually get an edge by doing so. So you can look at it in a positive way, or the glass half empty or glass half full here. And getting CMMC certified is actually hard. I don't think I need to tell that to anyone here. Exactly, it's difficult, it's long, it's expensive, and especially for the smaller members of the DIB. If you're a large enterprise, obviously you have a compliance team, you have all the tools, you have IT teams, you have consultants, you're fine. If you're a sub 100, sub 50 employee company, which 74% of the DIB are, then it's a pretty big challenge to accomplish in those circumstances. And a lot of different ingredients are required, from developing the policies and the procedures to acquiring the tool set and deploying it, implementing all the policies, getting through the audit. And even then, there's the continuous aspect of remaining compliant, which cannot be understated. So it is hard. And it's going to get even harder as kind of Rev 3 of CMMC goes out and takes effect. And that would be like shorter notification periods and additional controls. So this is not going to get better. Another point that's important to understand is that as far as the time and cost involved in obtaining CMMC, it's not where many people think it is. A lot of it is the continuous aspect of it. So it's not the preparation and just the implementation, but it's really maintaining compliance after the fact and triaging drift and so on. So you need to think about it and the cost and the time and the effort as a much longer term process than just achieving a one-time point in time. And obviously it can get very expensive, easily over 500K. And this is assuming company of about 50 employees. So we're not assuming a very large company with this budget. So a few words about Espresso Labs. So we are what you call an AI native compliance service. This is obviously a trend now, AI native services. It could be legal, it could be marketing, it could be finance. We are doing AI native compliance. And essentially what this means is that we've kind of assembled an AI powered compliance team that's it's not replacing your compliance or IT team. I mean, they have a lot of their hands. It's basically if you don't have any compliance team or any IT team, we can take it on. If you do have them, we can augment what they can do to achieve all these kind of onerous controls that CMMC requires. So the company, like I said, was founded a couple of years ago. It's backed by the founder of Palo Alto Networks and some seasoned entrepreneurs. And what we do, just to make a distinction here with other products, we're not a dashboard, the GRC dashboard. We focus on actually mapping the controls within your dashboard or Excel sheet or whatever you're using into actionable playbooks, and then enforcing those controls, monitoring those controls, remediating any deviations, responding to incidents, and then also serving that easily as evidence when there's an audit or if you need to kind of see where you stand. So it's more actively enforcing versus managing a set of dashboards or policies. That's kind of our focus. Just to give you some example of what this looks like. So as you can see, we can take the policies and the procedures and the controls that you have. It's on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you can see we basically instrument the different components that need to be instrumented. So your devices, your Linux and Mac and Windows and mobile, your browser, your cloud application, any kind of moving piece that's part of your scope. And then we can take on a control or a set of controls and make sure it's implemented and monitored. So for example, all the devices have to be encrypted if they're part of the scope. That's a policy item, that's a control. We map a playbook that does exactly that encrypts the disk of all the computers that are in scope. Our agents make sure that happens. They track and make sure that's continuously done. They can collect the data if you're requested, ask for evidence by the C3PAO if all this is encrypted. So we basically automated the entire process from control to evidence collection on your behalf. And the same with running EDR, monitoring for threats that come to your endpoint, to your clouds, patching different components. So a lot of different controls that are automating using those playbooks that are mapped to the controls that you need to implement. And at the end of the road here, like I said, if you do need to audit or you want to see kind of what your posture is, we have this AI native interface that, as you can see, looks a little bit like ChatGPT or Claude. And you can basically talk to our system. So not only is it automated in the sense that we have AI kind of acting as if it's a virtual IT compliance team, you can also talk to it directly and say, for example, are all my disks encrypted? And our system will basically go and look at the enterprise context that we collected from all our agent and all our sensors and tell you if you're compliant or not. So that's an example of how kind of an AI native solution takes a lot of the hassle out of compliance. And of course, you can make up any question you like and get an answer. And we are also the source of truth. So we're saving you a lot of headaches by doing so. So we try to address up to about 90 of the 110 controls. I mean, obviously it varies by environment. Larger company can pick and choose, and maybe they have some other solutions in place, but we can take on up to 90 of the controls. And you can see some of the different capabilities that's embedded in our platform from, like I said, device management and EDR, through continuous monitoring and SOC services, through security awareness training to employees, securing cloud infrastructure and monitoring it, managing vulnerabilities, and then also responding to incidents as needed and ensuring kind of continuous compliance with everything. Want to kind of note a couple of specific things here. One is when it comes to storing CUI and secure file sharing, that's actually something we implement using PreVeil, which is kind of why we're all in the same call. So our sweet spot is not specifically encryption and storing of CUI. So this is where we partner and we can deploy uh, PreVeil and monitor PreVeil for you. So that's one of the collaboration items that we have here. And we also can work with companies such as IVIS that provide you with all the GRC tools, and we are obviously doing the implementation piece of that. So this is just a subset of what we can do for you and how what controls we can kind of outsource. And then just to complete the picture, we also offer additional services. So as you can tell, we have technology partners, and we also have RPOs and C3PAOs and different advisors. So we can bring everybody in and try to streamline everything from A to Z, from advisory to implementation and automated implementation using our system, to a network of C3PAOs that know our system and can give you streamlined performance and consequently got better pricing, because if we streamline and make it faster, then the costs are not as bad as they would usually be. And we also provide through us and through IVIS pre-built documentation and policies that pertain to the controls we can put in place. So again, to save you a bunch of time to get started. I'll end in 2 minutes and hand over to PreVeil. So just a few words about the savings and the pricing. In the legacy model, as I said, easily looking at 500 to 700K over the 3 years of CMMC, even for a fairly small company. We believe we can get it down to up to 80% lower. Again, it's not that we're undercutting the market. We have AI and automation and consolidation of a lot of functionality, so we can afford to make it a lot more scalable and automated. And also, it's important to say we're not an enclave solution, a pure enclave. That we can talk about it separately, but we don't expect the users to change the way they work. So we just go in on the existing infrastructure and make it compliant. We're not trying to drastically change how people do their work. That's a valid solution, but that's not the enterprise solution that we are offering. And the same way we can cut on cost, but you think we can also cut the deployment time into 2 weeks versus many, many months that some solutions take, and narrow down to a single vendor, which is our platform, with some technology partners, and just make everything much more streamlined. And finally, we have this ongoing continuous element to it. So our AI and our team supporting the AI are monitoring everything at all time, providing a 24/7 SOC. And so you're ready continuously, not just for the audit, but for any time before or after the audit, which is the harder and maybe more difficult part to accomplish. With that, this is kind of our vision. I think it's a little bit of an overstatement. I don't think we're quite there, but this is where we're heading, trying to take a lot of stuff off your plate when it comes to compliance and CMMC specifically. And happy to talk more. You have our email here, and we're happy to talk more. And I'll give it away to PreVeil now.
Thanks, Adi, for the introduction here. Let's go to the next slide. Yes, hi everybody. My name is Craig Melton. I've been with PreVeil for I think it's 5.5 years now. It's been a good whirlwind here. I'm based on the West Coast in Southern California in Redondo Beach. Originally from the DC area, and played soccer all my life and decided to try a new hobby. I'm taking my beatings in the water now, so I can't say that I'm actually any good at it, but it's a nice little hobby to keep my mind off things. But thank you for welcoming us here today. All right, next slide.
Yep. Go ahead.
So, for those that aren't familiar with PreVeil, we're We've been around for about a decade now. I always say we're a startup, but I don't think we're a startup anymore. But we really exist as a cloud service provider to help organizations meet compliance requirements around primarily NIST, CMMC, ITAR, JCP, a lot of those acronyms out there. We really just provide a fundamental end-to-end encrypted platform on AWS GovCloud to help these customers ultimately achieve, compliance, right? Compliance is a big beast. As Adi was talking about, we're providing the platform and some documentation to help customers get there. We've got about 3,000 customers, and we've got organizations that have already gotten perfect 110 scores. So there's a lot of companies out there. We've seen a really, really dramatic increase in the volume of customers. Again, I've been here 5 years, and I had customers that 4 or 5 years ago that kicked the can down the road, and now they're scrambling saying, "Hey, we got to be compliant by November," or we got a letter from a prime saying we can't bid on this opportunity, right? So we're getting a lot of this urgency that we really haven't seen before. So it's getting a lot more serious, and we're excited about it, about helping these customers. Most of them are small in the defense industrial base. So we're excited to be here and to help those customers get compliant. Next slide, please. So our platform is cloud-based, and it's again on AWS GovCloud, and it meets all the end-to-end encryption compliance requirements for organizations that need to not only store but process and share CUI in the form of emails and files. So it's going to be this central place, and we'll talk about the nuances of what it does, but it'll be a central place for those organizations that maybe are planning on getting CUI or currently have CUI and ITAR today and can't use their OneDrive or Dropbox to get compliant. So PreVeil becomes that mechanism to be able to do that there. We'll go into the next slide and talk through a couple of the capabilities. So the first one here is the ability to communicate via our encrypted messaging platform. And in PreVeil, it's real nice because we have some integrations into some familiar tools. If you're using Outlook or Gmail, we have plugins that allow you to leverage those platforms to send end-to-end encrypted messages, not only internally, but also with your, downstream supply chain, or even to communicate with the primes and .mils. It's all going to go through the AWS GovCloud. It's never going to touch the commercial mail server. And so we've been doing this for quite a long time. And again, it's this secure, compliant, and efficient way to be able to collaborate via these nice methods here. So one way to send CUI is through PreVeil, and this is one mechanism to do it called PreVeil Express. So let's say you're in an environment where you want to maybe send an encrypted message downstream to a partner. You can do it through our plugins here. What happens on their end is they can basically receive a link, much like when a doctor says, "Hey, your lab results are in," right? What happens? You get a link in your email, you authenticate, and via a web-based browser now you can see your results, right? Very similar for your third parties as well. It's free, nothing to download and nothing to install. And so it's a way to have that bidirectional communication via the secure platform to communicate with your subs and partners. Okay, next slide. So also part of, CMMC is documentation. And so what we provide is what's called a compliance accelerator. It's a learning management system with all the assessor validated templates, videos, and artifacts to help companies get compliant. So what we'll do is we'll pre-fill a system security plan. It's about 50–60% of the way filled in. Give you all of the other SOPs from the 14 control families, give you support along the way as well. Instead of scouring the internet for a bunch of templates that maybe don't resonate, these are all going to be tailored towards PreVeil. So providing this documentation is going to be critical to save you hundreds of hours, ultimately save you a lot of dollars as well. Okay, next slide. So there's the technology piece, there's the compliance accelerator, and there's also the partners that we have with Adi and his team and IVIS. So we're really here to help organizations move towards compliance ultimately, whether it's self-certified or from a C3PO, we really want to help you get compliant. Looking forward to any questions at the end of it, but let me see, Adi, next slide. I think that might be. Yeah, the last one here. Okay. So just to kind of bring things back home, PreVeil as an end-to-end encrypted platform built on AWS GovCloud. Got about 3,000 customers, primarily small. You can use your existing assets with PreVeil, which is nice, and we have nice integrations into your Outlook and Gmail from an encrypted messaging perspective. And if you ever need to store your folders and files in PreVeil, you have the ability to do that within our PreVeil Drive, which operates like a OneDrive or Dropbox, but more secure. What our customers have found is that because you have this cloud-based offering, you don't have to procure your own server, so it's going to save you a lot of time, money, and allow you to have to fast track your compliance, which a lot of customers again are moving towards that November timeframe there.
Okay.
Okay.
Any parting words, or shall we move to
Yeah,
IVIS?
just looking
Okay.
forward to any questions you have at the end of it, but thank you so much.
Okay. Over to you, Chris.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Christopher Lank, the CEO of IVIS. I am not a soccer player, I am not a surfer, and I'm not a musician. So the two talented individuals went first. Um, IVIS is a complete GRC platform for organizations out there that are looking to implement frameworks such as CMMC, which is what we're talking about today. But as you can see from the slide here, we have a variety of additional frameworks that are available. We understand that the vast majority of suppliers in the defensive industrial base are dealing anywhere between 3 to 5 different compliance programs out there. Some of those are self-assessments, but a lot of them are moving like CMMC to have some type of formalized accreditation process that needs to take place. So our goal from the beginning is to get you audit ready and then to keep you compliant going forward. Adi, can you do the next slide? So here's some of the features of the platform that we really try to focus in on. On the first box there is the assessment and certification. The goal is to give you the ability to track how well you're doing against CMMC's levels 1, 2, and 3. A lot of the primes out there are asking for SPUR score, so we have the ability to give you that SPUR score so you can report that up to specific primes or to the DoD itself, and then also built-in mapping to NIST 171. On our SSP management, we really wanted to focus in on ease of use of this. This is one of the areas that the C3 PAOs are really going to be dialing into is how strong is your SSP? Who are the people involved? Who are the decision makers? And then, here's a list of all my hardware, software, all my assets and artifacts. So we really wanted to give you an environment to help you manage and collate and be able to report that piece of this to the C3PAO in a good, timely way. Gap analysis and POAM tracking. Again, throughout this process, you're going to have a POAM until you don't have a POAM. So the idea is to help you guide you through this process as you go through it. As Craig had mentioned, they have their product Compliance Accelerator. If you are a PreVeil customer, and we are very close partners with PreVeil, we have implemented Compliance Accelerator inside of our GRC for PreVeil customers. So as Craig mentioned, there's a lot of content in there that will definitely help you get ahead of schedule of what you need to have in place going forward. And then the last piece is on the evidence and artifact management. Throughout this process, there is going to be a ton of documentation that will come in the form of artifacts themselves. This could be screenshots of network diagrams. It could be policy docs, procedure docs, things like that. We really wanted to have an environment where instead of trying to have a dispersed library of these things, you had a clear, concise view of all these documents and to be able to map them to specific controls, to specific objectives within the environment itself. Our internal AI engine really focuses in on giving you guidance on this is what the intent of these controls are. This is how you need to approach them, and this is what your end game needs to be when you are compliant with them to keep you compliant. Next slide. So as you can see, our goal is, and I should have added a little bit more to this slide, is to pass the assessment And then realistically, a lot of the C3PAOs that we know and a lot of the consultants we know is getting compliant and getting the assessment is not the end. It's really the beginning of the journey because this is something that every organization is going to have to go through every 3 years. And the idea is to not only get you compliant, but keep you compliant. Our GRC platform is designed that once the assessment has been passed, it's now going to help guide you to say, on this date, I need to do these 5 things this month, this quarter. So in 2.5 years, when it's time for you to do your assessment again, hopefully it's not as painful as it originally was. But we also really want to help build culture within these organizations that really put compliance against things like CMMC as a priority. And then I think the last slide. We just have some good overview of what we had feedback from our customers as far as how much time that we're saving them in areas around their SSP and their evidence and actually, their path towards certification. As both Adi and Craig have mentioned, that November timeline for phase two kicking in is going to be here before we know it. And organizations need to get going on this as soon as humanly possible. I think that's it. At the very bottom, you can see we do have a level one version that is free and it never expires, and it does the level one 15 controls and your SPUR score. You can get that directly at IVIS.com, or you can actually get it at PreVeil.com as well. And I think that's all I had.
All right.
Thank you.
We kept it short. Thank you, Chris. Aris, is there anybody has questions? You can pop up
Yeah,
if
we
you'd
have a
like.
few questions here. I think the first question may be for PreVeil. How is it comparing to GCC which is kind of like a known solution in the industry in terms of an enclave solution?
Yeah, I think GCC high is an option, but it's not the only option, right? I think in my experience with smaller companies, the GCC high, rip and replace model can be, expensive is one of the things, but also just the change management aspect of getting a whole new domain can be challenging for a lot of small organizations. So we've had a lot of success helping companies, smaller companies, mainly in the DIB, just because of the model that we offer, the ease of use, the ability to integrate kind of in their existing workflow. So obviously there are options out there. I think if you're a larger company and you want to put everybody, all 800 people in that tenant and manage it yourself and all that, then it might be a good choice. But a lot of small companies, I think prevails. I'm a little biased, but I think prevails a good option for you in the marketplace. So.
Thank you, Craig. The
Mhm.
next question I'd like to actually read because it's kind of long. With my current setup, it is frustrating to manage guest access licenses to work with external users across our supply chain, and it's quite expensive. Is PreVeil's solution better for that? How so?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, and I touched on it a little bit. There are a few different methods in Prevail to be able to communicate with third parties, and the Prevail Express for downstream communication is the easiest, quickest, fastest path to doing that. And yes, it's we've been used a lot of times within supply chain communication because those third parties don't have to pay for a license. There's nothing to download or install. And so we provide that secure, compliant method to be able to communicate. And we also have a mechanism to communicate even with the primes and .mils, where on their end, they don't have to authenticate at all. It's a secure subdomain that would be called email relay that we can provision as well. So depending on the use case, we can help solve that challenge.
Okay, thank you, Craig.
Mhm.
Next question, maybe for you, Adi. There is a debate about AI in regulated environments. How do you make sure that if I use an AI native solution, I'm secure?
Yes. I think there was an uh, initial issue for people to accept AI. I feel that it's shifting from conversation I'm having, and people are beginning to appreciate the automation and the cost reduction and the speed. And you have to use AI, because if your opponent is using AI, they'll be running faster than you are. So you have to use AI to fight that. So that's just something you need to accept. Having said that, we're using an AI in a very careful way with guardrails. We don't never send any PII or CUI or any sensitive information to the AI outside of our system, and we have the guardrails of what it can do, and we have humans that are in the loop. So whenever it comes to a decision that does require human intervention, we have that as well. So there's no Skynet happening on our shift. So.
Okay, thank you. Another question, what are we seeing in terms of average time to get certified? I don't know who wants to take it, but it's an open question. I mean, maybe all three of you should chime in here.
I'll go ahead and jump into that. With a lot of the primes that we work with and their supplier base, and there has been a few communications that have gone out directly from the folks at the DoD and some of their subgroups. The average time is anywhere from 9 to 12 months. And that is sort of a baseline. If someone's starting from like today, the first day, you definitely have some work ahead of you. I think with all three of our solutions, we definitely can help decrease a lot of that. But there is quite a bit of work. There's a lot of documentation that has to be filled. There's a lot of training that has to occur that organizations need to be able to prove that they've done. So I would say if you've not started, definitely get started as soon as possible. But according to the DoD, the average time is going to be between 9 to 12 months.
Okay, thank you. Maybe the last question about continuous compliance as a pain point. How do you support it or help with that? Adi, do you want to take it or someone else?
I
So
know.
I
Go ahead.
Yeah, with the IVIS GRC system, and on our website it says on there, get compliant, stay compliant. We don't look at someone getting compliant as there's an end zone to it. It is going to be a continuous effort throughout the organization's life. So to us, it really comes down to not only getting the controls and the documentation, all the policies and procedures and training in place, but to make sure that none of it slips through the cracks going forward. Organizations, CMMC is really the first step of the government being a little bit more in tune with, trust but verify. We have to know that you have it in place and you need to prove it. There's going to be more of them, such as ITAR and OSHA and some of these other ones that are going to be coming down the pipe with more, regular or more administration, I guess is the right word around it, where you have to be compliant with it. So compliance is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not something that's going to be done within months.
Yeah, we agree. Is there anyone,
Yeah, and
someone else?
likewise, I think on the IT and cybersecurity side, it's nice that you have all the tools in place and all the policies in place, but if nobody is monitoring it, if on a Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. nobody's looking at the logs, then it's not really worth its cost. So it's all about continuously monitoring and responding to incidents and threats. So that's another really important aspect of continuous compliance, and obviously something that we focus on with AI and with our team.
Okay, thank you. No more questions. Maybe a few final words from each one of you. You can before we wrap it up.
Yeah, I'll go. This is Craig with PreVeil. If you're waiting, if you're sitting on the sidelines, just know that it's really it's here. Phase 2 is coming in November. So, regardless who you go with, hopefully it's one of us. Make sure you start. Make sure you start. Don't wait, because it's impacting the ability to see bids and RFPs, and it's really going to impact the bottom line. So we encourage you to get going. And yeah, if there's any questions for PreVeil, feel free to reach out, and happy to talk through any requirements you have.
Chris?
I think I would echo Craig. If you are waiting, you're really just every day counts going forward. From what we've been hearing, there's going to be flow down in new contracts coming out in November. And if you live or die by those contracts, you really don't want to be caught outside of being able to bid and actually, achieve those contracts. So again, we would love to help you as much as possible. I know PreVeil would love to help you, and Espresso Labs would love to help you on this journey.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So feel free to, hopefully this was useful. Feel free to contact each of us individually or all of us. We really feel that we can make CMMC much more achievable, and hope to talk to you in the future.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks so much,
everybody.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.